saying how excited we are that you're coming down under for the very, very first time. How do you both feel about the fact that you're finally going to be able to perform in Australia?
Very excited. It's long overdue. Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah. Can't imagine, really.
So, guys, tell us a little bit about it, because your music has always been popular here. How did it happen that you've never been able to tour Australia until now?
Over to you, Gad, you want to say? We were meant to come, in 1985. And the very day, it was almost a world tour, really. We were going to visit Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Hong Kong, and then to the west coast of America, across America, and then back to England, then round Europe. And my dad, unfortunately, had a huge heart attack the evening before we were meant to leave. The actual bus pulled into the road to collect us all the very next morning. And myself and my brother Colin, who worked for us, we were in the hospital being told that my dad, had very little chance of pulling through. So unfortunately, back in the day, the management decided to halt the tour completely, and we never got to Australia or New Zealand or all those other places. Obviously, we did later on in years, America and Canada and all this kind of thing, and Europe and stuff. But unfortunately, never back to Australia and New Zealand. And it is a long, long way away. It is hugely expensive just to get over there. So that will have stopped us getting over in the past. I would have thought, really, just how expensive it was, really.
Yeah, it's probably one of the longest flights that you can do in the world. So I guess for both of you, what do you like with long flights? What do you do during such a long flight?
Sleep. I try to sleep, but I can't get much sleep, actually. I always endeavour to try. I go in with a great intention of getting as much sleep as I can, and ends up watching films and sitting around twiddling my thumbs, and to get probably bad jet lag and everything. Yeah. And we eat absolutely everything they present to us.
So, Eddie, we know now why you guys didn't get to Australia, but have you always been aware of how many Australian fans you've had and how popular you are here?
Not to the full extent. What we do know, it was the actual very first place where we went gold, where we got our gold record. So that was great. So we knew we were popular, but we didn't know whether it waned over the years or whatever. And as Gary says, it is a mammoth task, just getting it all together. Getting everything sorted, from flights to accommodation to everything, because we're basically self-managed now. We manage ourselves and decide what we're going to do. So we don't have anyone kind of running that operation, and we're constantly playing as well in the UK and in the States and things.
Yeah.
So we just basically, it's just time consuming. It's great. The thing is, what this does for us as well, it opens doors. So maybe next year everything could be a bit more routinely organised, where we'll go to the States. We've got Mexico and Canada to do. So maybe we can start tying things in once we've made these connections, which will make it all easier, because you know where you are basically next November or whatever it might be, or December,
Definitely.
So that make it a lot easier in future.
Gary, your music just keeps on rejuvenating over the years. We've heard people sample your music in their songs. We've heard your music be used in feature films. How does that make you feel when your music gets introduced to a new generation of music fans, but with things like that?
Well, I find it more and more intriguing, really, music, the older I get. the more I realise it's just as alive as humans are and the world is. You know, it's so odd, the magic and alchemy of music, songs, and that. I find it sort of very beguiling and interesting, and I do believe, you know, when they say the music lives on and stuff, and it is alive. It's very organic. It's weird, isn't it? It's like a audible musical poetry kind of thing, as in it has a life of its own and lives way beyond the people who create it, way beyond the people who make it. And I love the way it's like so connected to the world and technology and events that are happening and fashion and film, and do you know what I mean? They all go towards creating it and it making sense to the populace. And that's why I think it starts to sort of demean, you know, lessen as you get older as a music writer and performer. It does sort of, you do go out of sync with it a bit, really, because, well, I suppose because it's so youth orientated and stuff. But I still find it very, very interesting, and it has changed over the years. And our music, you know, it's like I always sort of say to Ed and the fans, you know, it's almost more the fans' music than it is ours, because if you imagine, it's been our job. Do you know what I mean? It's our job to. It was our job to make it and enjoy performing it. But that's how we connect with it. Is like, well, we made it. But to some other people, to lots of people, it's the actual soundtrack to their lives and their weddings and their meeting their partners and their kids being born and their holidays they had. And do you know what I mean? It's the same for me and Ed, but not really, because, do you know what I mean? Then we'll have our music that we love and our artists that we love, and that's the soundtrack to our lives, kind of thing, you know. It's that thing again of how interesting it is, music. It's very, very, very compelling.
And music is so multi-generational now. Like, I listen to the music that my dad listened to, and I'm in my 40s now, and my nieces and nephews listen to the music that myself and my dad listened to. Have you found that over the years that your fans have become multi-generational?
God, yeah. I mean, we were just playing this weekend, and the audience is so varied in age. It's a lot of that could be like what you said, you know, being reintroduced to it, but to other artists, through samples, through whatever, through the parents, you know. And it is a wonderful thing, actually, you know, to see that when you're seeing like younger people coming along to see it and everything. It makes it a lot more worthwhile, I'd say.
Yeah. Gary, if someone had said to you 40 years ago the band would still be going strong, you'd be touring overseas in 40 years' time, what would you have said to them?
Oh, God. Well, I thought as a myself, you know, we're going to be like Eno, Bowie type characters that would be involved in all this sort of art, rock, performance, you know, pushing barriers. And do you know what I mean? When we started in the early 80s, it was nobody's desire to sound like the Beach Boys or the Beatles or anything from the past. We were all sort of very focused on the future, and especially if you're a Bowie fan like Ed was, and then I became one, you sort of felt as though we're pushing the boundaries here. We're heading forward, and we've got all these new synthesizers and drum machines and stuff. And do you know? Oh God, I've forgotten what the question was. What was the question?
If someone had said to you 40 years ago that the band would still be going strong,
I thought Ed and myself were going to be like producers and film scores and stuff like this. What you don't realise is, you know, everybody sort of has, you know what I mean, a sort of a limit to their gifts, and you don't sort of realise that until you're sort of 10, 20, 30 years down the line. And then you start to appreciate what people have actually achieved. And then you sort of look at your sort of kind of achievement, and you sort of realise, oh yeah, God, we became songwriters. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, we were popular songwriters of the day in the 1980s. And I don't mind really. I don't, I'm much, what an incredible life of work it's been, to do what we wanted to do, which was our music,
Yeah. And Eddie, coming to Australia for the first time, how are you going to work out what tracks you're going to play at these shows? Because there's going to be so many people there wanting to hear the tracks that they've loved over the years. How are you going to pick a set list for this tour?
Well, we can. We're in a fortunate position where we can play almost everything we've written. Really, it would be great if people could give us some indication. I don't do the social media thing, but Gary and there's the China Crisis site. But if people would, if they really want a song to be played or whatever, I'm sure we could arrange that. But what we usually do is just have. Well, certainly what we want to do and what we will be doing is covering the 40 years that we've been going. So there will be something off virtually every album and candidates. And
that's what we've done for the tour, isn't it? For the 40th anniversary, we basically we try to play something from every record as part of the show. If you imagine the show, Dave, is it's almost 2 hours long.
Yeah.
There is an interval. Some gigs are different and it's just the full one set. But it is put it this way, we play as many songs as the Rolling Stones.
Awesome.
And then we go, they're celebrating 50 years, we're only celebrating 40.
Yeah.
But I noticed, the way Ronnie Wood does all the set lists in his coloured pens, and he sells them as prints, doesn't he? So I'm always sort of keen to see what Ronnie's up to. And when I looked at the set, I was counting the songs and I went, for fuck's sake, man, fucking hell, we play the same amount of songs, Little China Crisis.
Well, guys, I guess this is a question for both of you, because I've noticed that you've got some time off between shows here in Australia. So what are you hoping to do away from the stage while you're here?
Oh, God.
Go to the barrier reef. I just want to get see as much of Australia as I can. Yeah. Obviously, we've never been there.
Yeah,
I should imagine bit by a shark is up there on your list.
I will be in the water. Let's put it that way.
Look! If you do get into difficulty, we have a show here in Australia that's a reality show that Lifesavers film. So there's a good chance that if something does happen, you'll end up on Bondi Rescue anyway.
I think, Dave, I think what you're talking about there is Baywatch, isn't it?
Yeah. But,
oh God!
But yeah. So apart from that, what do you guys hope to do? Do you like to get out into nature? Do you like to sample the food, the beer? What is it you guys like doing?
Dave, the best that it is when we're away traveling is when we hook up with people who are from the town or the city that we're visiting.
Yeah, always.
And they sort of make themselves available for your day off and. Usually show you the town and show you a little bit of, which is always great really, because it's a head start, isn't it? A heads up if you've got somebody who's actually from the place. And we usually enjoy that really. That's like a great thing, when we with local people.
We also, David, do as much research as we can. We'll get on there and find the art galleries or find the good restaurants or find things to do. Just Google and get out there and do it, and hopefully find the nice places in town. But Jack, our keyboard player, he will have a list as long as you. We won't get through half of it, but he'll have a list as long as you're armed for things to do.
Jack basically, Dave, when we were 5 weeks in the States, Jack basically would hire a scooter if it was at all possible everywhere we went. And one of the things he was doing was going to sites, in all these American cities we were going to, that were in a computer game he was playing. He was playing some game, and there was all these sites.
Basically, it was that Tony Hawk's, the skateboarder.
Yeah.
And in the Tony Hawk's thing, there's loads of skate parks in all different cities, and Jack was making his best effort to visit every one of them skate parks. Yeah.
Well, I guess the challenge for our listeners is to let you guys know on social media what you should do while you're in each city, and I guess the challenge to you now is, what would you like to say to all of our listeners before they go out and grab tickets for these amazing shows?
I'd say it's taken us 40 years to get there. I would say get along, really, just in case it's another 40 years, and Eddie and myself would be, we're 60 now, we'd be 100 years old. So, maybe get down now.
Awesome. Yeah.